Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast. On today's show, we will talk about Mark Buehrle and the Hall of Fame, and along with that, we'll talk about the international draft free agent class for the White Sox in 2025. CHGO White Sox podcast coming to you live from Studio B. Our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. That's the new intro, Steven. Welcome in.
It is different.
Today by our pal, Steven Nicholas. He is back. Mr. Hockey, now Mr. Football, is back to being Mr. Baseball. How does it feel?
It feels familiar and somehow very different. Very, very different.
Very different. R.I.P. Bob Uecker. The actual real Mr. Baseball. On today's show, we will be talking about Mark Buehrle and the Hall of Fame. Tonight on MLB Network at 6:30, the 2025 class of the Hall of Fame will be announced. Spoiler alert, Ichiro Suzuki is a Hall of Famer. Outside of that, I'll give you the other names that will be Hall of Famers, and we'll talk about Buehrle and the Hall of Fame, how they have gotten along, not gotten along, and what are his true chances to become a Hall of Famer, at least through the BBWAA election. We will also talk about the 2025 international draft free agents for the Chicago White Sox. David Keller's staff introduced those back on the 15th, so we're right on top of it. It's the 21st. Perfect. We're not as late as the actual White Sox, who today just announced that the White Sox have agreed to terms with veteran left-handed pitcher Martin Perez on a one-year, $5 million contract, which includes a mutual option for the 2026 season. I believe that would pay him $10 million, so it's not that mutual. The White Sox have clearly included the buyout money, because I think what we heard like 13 days ago, because this was reported on the 8th that this signing was happening, that the base salary is 3.5, and then the buyout of the mutual option is 1.5. So again, I don't think it's that mutual. I think they have to announce the option, but it sounds like by them saying it's a one-year, $5 million deal that, hey, we're going to be buying you out. You're not going to be a White Sox in 2026. So Martin Perez, we'll see how long he lasts on the team. Maybe it will be until September. Maybe he'll finish the entire team and pull Chris Flexen, or he'll be dealt at the trade deadline.
Now, I haven't
enough of an asset.
I obviously haven't been in these shows too much recently. Martin Perez, how are we gauging this? Is this a good signing? Is he still the guy that he once was? Because he's been around.
He has been around. He was around with Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, he was not so good. But then he was with San Diego, and he was all right. He wasn't too bad. It's a signing that makes sense and we thought was going to happen. There's a lot of young names that could fill out the White Sox rotation. There's not a lot of people that have shown, hey, I can go out there and throw 140 innings. Martin Perez can give you 140 innings. It might be ugly like it was in Pittsburgh. It might be good like it was in San Diego and Texas. We've gone over his stuff, and he has changed the way he has attacked hitters. He no longer can reach back and throw 92. He's more of a guy that sits in the 80s. He's a crafty veteran lefty, and he is pretty much just a little bit more of a guarantee than Chris Flexen was, who gave them 160 innings pitched. They're pretty much trying to replace their Chad innings eater.
You took the words out of my mouth. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and I'm like, this guy's an innings eater, which is something, man, I wouldn't want to be the guy eating those innings, but somebody's got to eat them.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you look at the other side of town, they gave Matt Boyd like $15 million a year.
Yeah.
I don't really know why. I guess Boyd's got a little bit more left in the tank than Perez, but same idea there, that it's a guy that's going to hopefully give you innings. And even with Perez, comparing him to Boyd, Perez, I think, has a little bit more of a track record of giving you those innings compared to Boyd. Boyd has run into a little bit more injury issues, and you see the price of pitching. Boyd gets paid $15 million. The Sox are paying Perez $5 million. So, Chris Getz is pretty much being a bottom feeder right now of the ocean. He's deep down there. I watch all these YouTube shorts that show like the difference of like, if we buried 2 Eiffel Towers, this is how deep you'd be. They're like sitting in the Mariana Trench, just waiting for anything to float down there, and they'll just eat the scraps.
Well, I know we didn't do a proper production meeting today, but I guess this kind of brings me to my next point here. Who the hell is starting opening day for the White Sox?
Jonathan Cannon.
Is this where we're at?
It's not a bad thing. I mean, Jonathan Cannon's a 3rd-round draft pick, so hey, at least he's homegrown. Yeah. We get a homegrown pitcher that's going to make an opening day start. I want to now look up off the top of my head because I know there were so many done by Giolito. He's technically not homegrown because he was drafted by the White Sox. Like, I think Buehrle might have been the last pitcher drafted by the White Sox that was an opening day starter. I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong. No, I am exactly wrong. Last year, 2024, Garrett Crochet drafted by the White Sox.
And that was a surprise at the time. It ended up being a great decision by the White Sox.
Mm-hmm. And so then you got Cease, Giolito, Rodon, 2019. He was drafted by the team. Shields wasn't drafted by the team. Quintana, I don't think was drafted. I think he was just signed. And then Sale. So I'm really just talking out my butt.
Okay.
Well. We're just talking about my butt here. So it's nice to at least see homegrown talent, though, get that opportunity. And Cannon seems like he could be a Logan Webb. If everything hits right, he could be that type of guy that has a lowish level arm slot, is mainly a sinker sweeper guy. It seemed like he had enough to get out lefties as well, had a pretty decent changeup, can throw the 4-seam fastball high up in the zone. So I think he's an interesting pitcher. I mean, there's definitely, I mean, it's worse than, James Shields was an opening day pitcher.
Okay, don't remind me of that. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers right now too. 124 innings last year. That's more than I thought he pitched. So, just on actually having done the job alone, yeah, I guess he could be and apparently is a very good candidate. 91 strikeouts in those 124 innings. I mean, he's not blowing people away.
But he's a ground ball. He's more of a ground ball guy.
You mentioned that lower arm slot. I saw 6'6". I was kind of surprised to hear that.
Oh, like height-wise?
Yeah.
I mean, he's fairly athletic. I think he throws about 6 pitches. So you're going to get a decent amount of movement from his pitches. He's a guy that I think if the command's there, like, he might get a little bit more help with caught-looking strikeouts. I don't think he's a guy that's a big swing and miss person, but the whole idea is if you have a decent defense behind him, he'll probably pick up all the ground balls that he's hopefully getting. So, I mean, it's either him or Davis Martin. Martin was, again, another homegrown product, 12th round pick. Yeah. He's got now this disgusting kick changeup that he can use against lefties, but he's got, 4-seam slider. And, I mean, we saw him back in 2022. Was bad off Tommy John, or not, was just had Tommy John in 2023, came back in 2024, looked great. And what we know about Tommy John pitchers is once you have gone through a whole year of recovery, you're kind of back to where you were. So if he wasn't even back to where he was and looking as good as he was in 2024, they might have something on their hands in Davis Martin.
I was producing those shows back then when Davis Martin was healthy in 2022.
Legend.
Yeah, and to be honest, he was one of those guys, if you looked at his numbers, you would say this guy is not good at all. But if you actually zoomed in a little bit, you would see that he just got shelled in a couple outings. In fact, I think it was his last one of the season. Mm-hmm. Was it the Twins? I want to say he got demolished by. And then outside of that, it's like there was
the Twins. Look at you.
Oh my, look at me go. All right.
You have a pretty decent memory. I didn't even remember it was the Twins. He did get shelled, 9 runs, but through the first 13 games in 2022, 3.65 ERA.
Yeah, and we'll take that. Mm-hmm. We will absolutely, especially for a 12th round pick. I mean, he was at that time a guy that I was really looking forward to seeing pitching. And unfortunately, the Tommy John bug caught him, and he had to miss a year. 2024, those numbers don't look as great. They're actually a little better. 4.32 ERA. The WHIP got a lot worse. 146 WHIP. Obviously it's a small sample size, 11 games. 10 of those were starts. Go ahead.
The big thing that stuck out was that start against the Giants on the 20th. That's when apparently they were watching Hayden Birdsong video, and Ethan Katz and Brian Bannister taught him the kick change. And then from those, it's a 5.06 ERA, 4.10 FIP, so it's a little bit more normal. But he was just getting a ton of strikeouts. Was closer to about a strikeout per 9. So, I mean, there were adjustments there. And again, the whole thought process is that he'll even have a little bit more recovery to do. But Martin Perez, now officially a Chicago White Sox. Steven, any more questions? It's been 10 minutes of show.
Yeah, we're doing
I only got 20 minutes left. You're taking up all my damn time.
Well, I'm first off sorry, and you're welcome. And secondly, since we're already on the pitching conversation here, the bullpen.
Oh.
Where are we at with this bullpen right now?
Let's tell you about the bullpen. I got a fun thing for you on the bullpen. So the 2025 ZiPS projection came out from Fangraphs. Dan Szymborski puts together that for Fangraphs. And here is something that Dan Szymborski wrote. Here's something I don't think I've ever seen from Zips before. There isn't a single pitcher on the White Sox, including those who are still listed with the team but are actually free agents, who is projected to have at least a league average ERA. That's pretty shocking. Most teams, even the absolutely horrific ones, will usually have some random middling reliever who barely sneaks into adequacy. Also, the bullpen projects worse. Indeed, this is the worst unit Zips has ever projected, but I'm not inclined to rag on a dozen org guys on a terrible team. So this projects as the worst bullpen in Zips history. And did you hear where Vegas set the number for win-loss total?
Oh, let's hear it.
So in the 30-year history, I forget who put this together. So shout out to that person. I'm going to give you just a thankless shout out. You're the best guy. I think it was Colin Whitchurch of Action Network. And if I'm wrong, hey, Colin. 30 years of win and loss totals from Vegas. There has not been a total set lower than 57.5. White Sox 49.5.
Wow. So what you're saying is
wins
it's a really low bar for them to clear expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a spin.
And
that's
honestly, all they have to do is have like a 20th, like 20th-ish bullpen.
Yeah.
And like if they have like a 15 to like 25 ranked like starting pitching rotation, like they'll exceed expectations. Hey, I'll probably project 54 to 56 wins. I think that's what I'm going to end up saying. It can't be as bad as 121 losses. I'll look at you right now, dead in the camera. Okay, I'll be a great Emmy-winning producer, podcaster, whatever. I'll look dead in the camera. This is my camera, Steven. The White Sox will not lose 121 or more games in 2025.
Because the projected closer is Justin Anderson, right?
Yep. Hey, man.
Hey, he's going to close out games.
Man. Every day, Justin Anderson. He was great in 2024. You just didn't watch. You just didn't. I don't blame you. Yeah. You didn't watch. Justin Anderson is the new. Who do the kids like these days? Mariano Rivera.
Oh yeah.
Who's an elite? Trevor Hoffman. Mm-hmm. Eric Gagne.
Oh, good ones. Oh, you looking for me to do another one?
No. I was just you didn't know if you had more bullpen questions.
I was a big Bobby Jenks guy myself, but yeah.
You're talking about Justin Anderson. Justin Anderson. Come on, put respect on him. His last name is Anderson. You got to think he's pretty good.
Yeah, probably a good podcaster too. But just looking at the rest of these names in this bullpen right now, a lot of them I've never heard of. Just to be frank with you.
Well, in here, you know what? Just to clear this up too, because this is the other part of the White Sox tweet. To make room on the 40-man for Martin Perez, they have designated right-handed pitcher Ron Marinaccio. He's a relief pitcher, so I'll tell you one person who won't be in the bullpen, at least on opening day, Ron Marinaccio.
That was the one I was really looking forward to seeing too.
Yeah,
just too bad.
There's some interesting names in the bullpen. It's not like it's do or die. It's not the worst thing ever.
Fraser Ellard. I don't know who that is.
Fraser Ellard was actually decent last year. Fraser Ellard's the lefty that throws hard. He is like a pretty low slot. He's like the new Tanner Banks.
I remember Prelander Baroa.
You remember Tanner Banks?
I do. I remember. You used to call him Banner Tanks.
Banner Tanks,
yeah.
Exactly. Prelander Baroa is sick.
Wilson.
Prelander Baroa apparently can become the next like Kenley Jansen. There's some thread on Twitter, so you got to believe it. But yeah, no, Prelander Baroa is like, that was one of his good trades Chris gets.
We got Cam Boozer, who I know was a former Twin, right?
Was he a Twin? I know they acquired him from the Red Sox, so I don't know if he was actually a Twin.
I think he was a Twin before that.
If you have that much Cam Boozer now, he was a Twin. That's disgusting.
There we go. I used to live on MLB Trade Rumors.
That is nasty. He was a Twin. Never even pitched for the Twins. Never made it past Advanced A. That's nasty. He's a former Chicago dog.
I'm a big prospect guy.
A former Chicago dog. Is he even a prospect?
So he was at one point.
Come on. He had a 6.55 ERA in the 1 year he pitched at Oregon State. Who was he drafted? He wasn't even drafted.
Oh, well.
Come on.
At some point, he was a prospect.
Guy, and you're talking. Fred's saying you're making up names.
I got it right.
I'm with Fred. You did get it right, which is pretty disgusting by you. Steven Wilson, I think, is honestly like the least interesting name in the bullpen right now, and he's the one guy that's like making money. I think that it's possible that they trade him before the season. But yeah, no, like there's no guys. There's no like true veteran presence that is going to be a shutdown reliever. Justin Anderson was found money last year, and they're going back to the well again to see if it will hit. And I don't blame them, but I think what we're going to see is a lot of non-roster invites. I think, again, the White Sox are going to sit at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and they're going to pick up what they pick up. They're going to pick up the scraps that teams just don't want, guys that maybe are a little bit too old for teams, guys that are a little bit maybe, wild for teams. Like, they're going to pick up some true projects, and they're just going to throw everything at the wall and see what hits.
Well, I mean, the last couple of years, too, we saw them take a lot of projects on. some players who were formerly top prospects that, maybe just didn't pan out for their organizations. Do we think we see some more of that now? They're investing a little bit more into the development of their pitchers now at the coaching staff level.
We'll talk about that in a second when we get to the international free agent signings, because there's some revelations led in by David Keller, the new director of international scouting, that made me sick and want to hurl. So, Steven, make sure people stay tuned. Make sure you're liking as well. We got nearly 20 people watching and only 3 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, we would appreciate it. Thank you to Ryan for saying, remember to give the video a like. Let's hit an ad break, and then we will talk about the international draft free agency and Mark Buehrle. Save on the new car. Save on the new car for you and stick to you. Ooh, Steven, reading's hard. Save on the new car for you and stick to your New Year's goals by shopping Ray's Resolution, going on all month long at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake. Head in today to shop their huge selection of new Chevy models with their special New Year's prices. Right now, take 10 to 20% off MSRP on select new Chevy models, or shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Visit our partner this January at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. Again, 10 to 20% off MSRP on select new Chevy models and 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. If you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, you've heard of the Ray's Price Promise. All of the numbers that I'm saying right now, 10 to 20% off MSRP on new Chevy models, 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. All of the words that I'm saying right now will be what you see when you go into Ray Chevrolet. Their Ray Price Promise is saying the numbers you're hearing now are the numbers you see in store. They will never change the price on you. What you see is what you get with our friends over at Ray Chevrolet. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
Let's drive.
Yeah, see, there you go. You know it. I mean, it's like everyone loves to sing it along. It's a good time. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Mando. Mando has saved my life. I really do appreciate Jim Cook. He's a sales guy here, and he got the Mando hookup. And this is easily the best deodorant that I've used. I will say, like Shady Rays and Mando, these two are products that I would easily recommend. Like if you just love the product, extremely high quality stuff that you're going to be using every single day. Mando, as somebody who is hairy, somebody called out the beard and said that the beard, it looked like very young, like it didn't have like a full beard when I posted a picture on. Beard. That's the thing, like that's the only thing I got. I don't have hair up here, right? Ooh, yeah, but I got hair here, right? I got hair in my arms, whatever. Like Mando, easily the best deodorant on the market. It's a whole body deodorant. It's safe to use anywhere on your body. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. You could choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. I've used the bourbon leather. That one is my favorite, but it's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. I still shower and use Mando, so it's kind of like double whammy. I don't think they're saying don't shower, but 12 hours after a shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. Wow. Imagine being a Grundle odor level detector. That's one hell of a job to have. But anyways, go shop over at Mando. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com to check out Mando starter pack. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. All right, let's get into Mark Buehrle, who doesn't smell bad. Yeah, honestly, probably does. As somebody who is such an avid hunter,
all the innings
like he is,
I don't know.
Huh?
All the innings he pitched in?
Well, all the innings he pitched, all the beer, like he probably smells like beer. And I don't think I don't know if he's a smoker, but I wouldn't put it past him. Okay. Like, and he talks a lot about hunting. He was on Carmen and Yurko just the other day, the White Sox home, and I think he was talking about his upcoming appearance at Sox Fest Live, which is happening on the 24th. Mark Buehrle is going to be there. Freddie Gonzalez is going to be there. Wow. Freddie Garcia is going to be there. Jose Contreras is going to be there.
3 of the 5.
That's it.
Yeah, well.
That's it.
No John Garland?
It hasn't been announced. No, even Ozzie Guillen has been announced. What are they doing?
He's already here.
I mean, I don't even know if he's going to be a part of CHSN.
Really?
Well, he was shown in one of the commercials, which I was like, oh, there's Ozzie.
Yeah.
There's been no Ozzie on the broadcast. I understand, like, hey, there's no White Sox baseball going on, so maybe Ozzie's just taking the offseason off. But from what I've heard, I don't even know if Ozzie's signed on over at CHSN, which is very, very weird because that is like the guy.
Ozzie, come do a podcast with us.
I know.
I'll do a podcast with him.
No. I'm saying, like, if we could, I would love to get Ozzie Guillen on.
You know, a young Steven once interviewed Ozzie Guillen.
For what?
At a normal Corn Belters game where his son was, Ozzie Guillen was a player. He was like batted like 7th in the order, and their manager got suspended. So Ozzie was the guest manager for a day, and it was an electric experience because, young college Steven here, big time Ozzie Guillen interview. This is a huge moment for me. And I asked him a question, and what he responds had nothing to do with my question, and I understood about 50% of it. It was great. It was an authentic Ozzie experience.
Hell yeah. So shout out to Ozzie Guillen. I don't know why he won't be at Sox Fest 2025, but if you want to talk to Ozzie Guillen, Steven has memories of doing that. Yeah. So Mark Buehrle was on Carmen and Yurko, and he said he doesn't think he's worthy of being in the Hall of Fame, but does think it's amazing that he stayed on as long as he had. That's enough for me. And as somebody who has started a trend on Twitter, it's very viral. It's all over the place. You can't take your eyes off the internet without seeing #BustForBuehrle, because what we want to see is one of those great Hall of Fame bust White Sox cap showing off the great career of Mark Buehrle. But as somebody who is like a content creator, is supposed to be like, getting people excited, it doesn't help when the subject says, I'm good. Hey, I don't even think I'm worthy. It's like, well, why would I care? Like, respectfully, I still care. I want him to be a Hall of Famer. You're seeing Andy Pettitte get more votes. You're seeing Mark Buehrle get more votes. Like, it feels like there's a little bit of steam picking up for Mark Buehrle to be a Hall of Famer. And yet he comes out here and says, I don't really care. Oh, come on. Guy just wants to be hunting. That's literally all he says. He's just been enjoying hunting season.
I mean, for me, I hear that, and I appreciate the honesty. I would rather him make a case for himself. He's got some really good credentials. I mean, he had a perfect game. He had a no-hitter. He won a World Series. You could argue he was the ace of the staff for a very, very long time.
I think him and only Greg Maddux are the only pitcher to have 14 consecutive seasons of 200-plus innings.
And that was the next thing I was going to say.
He has the most pickoffs, or second most pickoffs of all time. I think Carlton has the most, but he has the lowest stolen base percentage of all time, and he's one of the best defenders. So you could argue, I think, even by defensive run saves, he's the best pitching defender. So I understand it's like a small part of the game, and it's not like actually pitching. But if there was a ground ball ever, he's picking it up. If anyone gets on, a la the no hitter against the Rangers, where he picks up, lets Sosa get on via a walk and then picks him off. That was his whole thing. Like, he was always able to get a ground ball as well if he was ever, giving up a hit or walking somebody.
I mean, is that what we think? Is it simply the fact that he didn't strike out that many batters? That he was a ground ball pitcher?
His ERA was higher. I mean, he threw lighter than most people, so it just gave him more home runs, and it gave him the ability to get hit a little bit more. He was a 40th round pick, 42nd round pick. Like, he shouldn't even been in the major leagues at all. So I think that's where he's coming from. It's just like, hey, I got the chance to be in the major leagues, and the fact that my career was as fun as it was for me, I don't really care about anything else. I mean, he's got a ring. He could just stick his ring in one ear and then put the pillow on the other and sleep tight every single night. But Buehrle, he's going to be in his 6th year next year. He's projected to get about 12% of the ballot. He's gotten 27 total votes, so he has passed enough of the 5% threshold to be on the ballot next year. So Buehrle was first on the ballot 2021, 11%. He was on the ballot in 2022, 5.8%. 2023, we saw a bump back up to 10.8%. 2024, down to 8.3%. And now we have seen a little bit more of an influx from Buehrle, or for Buehrle, where I think we've seen about 1 lost vote or something like that. I'm trying to figure out exactly. But Buehrle, we're seeing more of a support from him. He's going to be on the ballot for a 6th year next year. And what you're also seeing is more of an increase of support for Andy Pettitte, who has similar numbers to Buehrle. Pettitte has a steroid connection, and obviously he has a better postseason record because the Yankees went to the postseason so many damn times. Didn't have any luck in 2005 when he was on the Astros because the White Sox won and Buehrle won. Can I flip? I know we can't say the F word, but can I flip off the Houston Astros?
I'll allow it. Take that, Houston Astros.
Take that, Houston. Ha! But yeah, Buehrle, I think if there is a chance he's a Hall of Famer, it is in the 10th year. It's in his last year. I think it is possible that he gets to possibly like 15 to 20% by year 8. But it will have to be Pettit continuing to grow, Buehrle continuing to grow, Pettit being left off the ballot after his 10 years, and then somehow, some way, that year that Buehrle is on his 10th year, so it would be 26, 27, 20, I think 2030. 2030 would be his last year. I believe then 2030, once Pettit's off, Buehrle's on his 10 year. Like that's the threading of the needle of Buehrle being a Hall of Famer by BBWAA standards. But as we saw with Dick Allen, the Veterans Committee can always vote you in, and it could take 40 years of you just sitting around, and maybe you'll die like Dick Allen. Unfortunately, it's sad truth. Yeah. Maybe you'll be able to be inducted then. But it doesn't seem like he'll be a shoo-in like Ichiro Suzuki. If you're going to be watching tonight on MLB Network, you'll likely see Ichiro Suzuki be announced as a Hall of Famer. He is, I believe, 100% still, so we'll see if that continues. But it also seems like Carlos Beltran will be a Hall of Famer, which is exciting for Carlos Beltran, even though he's connected to the Astro scandal. First time.
Next thing I was going to say, yeah.
First time on the ballot, CC Sabathia, 92.5%. Big number for CC. I think that's very good for Buehrle's help as well. Obviously, CC won a Cy Young and was a little bit better, but it does seem like CC's going to get in. And thankfully, Billy Wagner, 85.4% of the ballot. This is a guy that's jumped a little bit year over year every single time, and it does seem like Billy Wagner rightfully will be getting in. So Wagner, Suzuki, CC, and Carlos Beltran seemingly are your Hall of Famers for 2025. Good group. And the fact that you're getting 4 in just takes 4 off and hopefully means that it's a little bit better. Ooh, I can't wait to see this photo. All right. We're at 27 minutes. I'm also with Kevin. NL Astros were complete bums. Like the worst of the worst. Like the just disgusting team to watch. They were so
bad back then.
I mean, just Clemens and Pettit were it's like watching Jimmy Butler right now in 2025. Oh, sorry, I forgot you're a Jimmy Butler stan. Like, just give it up, dude. Like, you're not the guy that you were.
He's still good. I would trade Zach LaVine for him right now and just fix a mistake they made. I would. Okay. I said it. So
you did say it. I allowed you to say it, and we're going to leave it there.
For it, but
yeah. I don't think that's the case, man. I don't know. Jimmy Butler seems washed. Remember when he said that he was on back, and I think he scored, like 2 points in his return game?
He was back.
I guess he was back. He's not good anymore. Washed. Anyways, getting into the international draft class, the announced signings were actually announced on the 15th. James Fox noted that typically the White Sox were a little bit late when other teams were announcing their signings. The White Sox promptly, when the signing deadline was announced, they threw them out there. David Keller also spoke. I'm reading these quotes from FutureSox.net. James Fox was able to put together a write-up. Go check out him and Ian's podcast. They also did a podcast talking about the developmental staff and the international draft back on, I believe, Monday or Sunday. So go check that out. They do a great job over at Future Sox. But the class is as follows. Alejandro Cruz, third baseman from Cuba. Orlando Patino, an outfielder from Venezuela. Frank Mieses, an outfielder from the Dominican Republic. Cesar Familia, a right-handed pitcher from the Dominican Republic. Albert Munoz from the Dominican Republic. He's a pitcher. Felix Doreto, he's a right-handed pitcher from the Dominican Republic. Nathaniel Valerio, he's a right-handed pitcher from the Dominican Republic. Yobal Rodriguez, he's a right-handed pitcher from Cuba. Yordani Soto, he's an infielder from the Dominican Republic. Alan Escobar, outfielder from Venezuela. Gelfranc Silvia, an infielder from Venezuela. Johnny Moraro, he is a right-handed pitcher from Venezuela. Also, Johnny spells it similar to Johnny Peralta. So we got a Jay Hani. So yeah. I'm rooting for Jay Hani. Diego Natera, catcher from Venezuela. Jeremias Aponte, an outfielder from Venezuela. Caracas, one of the best places ever. Caracas. That's a great place to say. Jose Mendoza, catcher from Venezuela. And then Igor Escobar, an infielder from Venezuela as well. The two big ones are Cruz and Patino, as the White Sox press release notes. Cruz is the 17th prospect in Baseball America's top 100 for the 2025 international class, and Patino is 81st on that. For Patino, the write-up from Baseball America is that he is a teenager with a linebacker build at 6'2", 203 with big strength and power in his right-handed swing. And then David Keller noted that the White Sox were the first club to see Patino in person after he returned to the market. He was, I think it was the Dodgers were the person that they were originally supposed to sign with. So they stole someone from the Dodgers.
We beat the Dodgers. They're signing everybody right now.
Well, that was the reason why I think they beat everyone was because they got Roki Sasaki, the number one prospect. They had to give him a ton of money. So poor them. They'll lose Patino, but they got Sasaki. The one thing that didn't throw me was Cruz seemingly as a Marco Patti signing, and Keller wasn't really able to talk much about Cruz. It didn't seem like that great of a class, and even though Baseball America ranked him as the 17th prospect, MLB has him as 33rd. And the only person that I saw ranked 30th or lower on MLB's top 50 international prospects, and they shrunk it down to 30, was 30th back in 2016. And Steven, can you guess the name? Or maybe I think it was 2014. Can you guess the name back in 2014? That was 30th. That ended up making a name for themselves in Major League Baseball. 25th was Juan Soto. 28th was Miguel Amaya, now current Cub catcher. 30th was?
And what year was this? One more time?
I believe 2014. I could be wrong on that.
No, the guy I was going to guess wouldn't have been it. Go ahead.
So just think of like a big star with White Sox connections, but he isn't on the White Sox.
White Sox. Oh, was it Fernando Tatis Jr.?
Fernando Tatis Jr. So either Alejandro Cruz will be a no-namer, or we will trade him for a Chad innings eater, and you will haunt us for the rest of our life. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the show. Thank you to Ryan for hanging out with us in the chat, along with Kevin. I think also Fred threw something out there as well. Appreciate Fred. And here is Stephen with Ozzy and Oni Gian.
There we are, the normal Corn Belters game.
Go normal.
Illinois.
Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe. We got a off-day show from the Bulls, and earlier, Stephen and the Bear Show put together the Ben Johnson Mega Show, where they had like 17 guests.
Yeah, we had a lot of guests.
17
really good
guests,
show. If you're a Bears fan, make sure you watch that.
Great stuff from Carm, Braggs, and Hogue, along with Steven, who had to produce the damn thing. So hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Appreciate you watching. We will see you on Thursday. Good. Bye.